Hello guys, I'm Fizzy and welcome back to the 4th round of the official AOR GT3 Elite League on Project Cars. This is the top division on the PC side of GT3 leagues on Apex Online Racing, and we've had some very interesting races in the season so far, and for this 4th round we are at Laguna Seca for the first time ever in this league. So as usual, Yorkie and myself will take you through the live action from this race, but first let us have a look at how the qualifying went and how they line up on the grid here. And this time it is Khaki back on pole position where he was in the season opener at Brno. Back on form in qualifying for him after 2 disappointing results. And Mini Black also in the Bentley suddenly finding some pace after a strugglesome season so far. So it's a Bentley front row here with Papans in 3rd and the championship leader F1 Masa only down in 4th on this one. The 3rd Bentley of Jinja is on the 3rd row along with TonyR. And then a solid qualifying for Ycoms in the Mercedes in 7th. Centro also up in 8th. Tipple 9th. Maisie CZ in 10th. Brownski, the season 1 champion, could only manage 11th on the grid here with Nesterovic down in 14th, also out of position. So it's lined up for another exciting race here, and I'm going to hand you over to, well, myself and Yorkie for the live coverage. So go to the track now, and it's Khaki on pole position with Mini Black popping up on the front row alongside him, and then Papan, and then F1 Masa in 4th. We have 21 cars on the grid here, which is nice to see around Laguna Seca for the 4th round of the season, and the lights are about to go green here. So we pop. Oh no, messed that up. Retire to the base box. Spectate. Get up the field a little bit. That's the wrong way. And here we go.
Into the turn one.
Let us scrambling into turn 1 here. Ooh, Masa, I think there was side by side with Dinda. If the camera can give us that, Masa played inside through turn 2. Dinda trying to hold it around the outside. Great battling. Masa just still on the inside though, but Dinda carrying the better momentum there and keeping hold of 3rd place. That was yeah, a good start from Masa, but couldn't find his way around that massive Bentley.
No, it seemed like Masa did pop up into 3rd position momentarily, but Dinda's managed to get himself up into 3rd, although Dinda actually made a slight mistake coming out through the exit of that left-hander there. Has gone promoted F1 Masa up into 4th. The 2 Bentleys going side by side into that left kink. There's not a lot of room, and Mini Black, I believe, wisely backs out of that one. TonyR is currently still in 6th position. Brownski's managed to get himself up.
Oh no, that's
a pretty good start.
Teammate contact there. I think Brownski been hit off the track by one of his teammates there. 2 Z4s off at the corkscrew. Brownski making it his way back onto the track, still in 7th place, but whoever hit him behind is still struggling back there. So let's see, that would have been
Centro, I believe.
This is Centro, okay.
Centro that he made contact with.
All the Z4s were really scrambling together into the corkscrew there, and that is not how that team would have wanted the first lap to go there.
No, wait, sorry, it's Tipple. It's not Brownski.
Wow, really?
It's Tipple that came together with Centro. Brownski is still in 7th position. Both of these 2 Z4s, though, have dropped way down the field backwards, 17th and 18th position. They were quite far up there, I believe, both up in the top 10, and they both had to do the gravel on the inside of the corkscrew. They picked up a time penalty, I believe, whilst rejoining.
I see.
Actually took Tipple a while to rejoin onto the circuit as well, but they've fallen way down out of position compared to where they were previously, and they've both now got their work cut out for them to work back up through the field and try and restore some points here for this Z4 team.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to, because I see that the standings overlay isn't currently working on the stream, so I'll try to fix that quickly while you can just let us know about any action out on track right now.
Okay, I'm just having a very quick flip through the drivers. Most of them seem to be going one by one through the sequence of corners. TonyR still in 6th, hunting down Mini Black at the moment. Dinda S has pulled away a little bit from Mini Black, and F1 Mass has pulled away a little bit from Dinda. Papan still currently holding 2nd place, whilst Khaki is romping away off into the lead. Already a decent gap there, probably a good couple of seconds as he comes into the first couple of turns, taking those very, very nicely and smoothly. I think Khaki's probably benefiting a little bit from a recent ESL round. I believe it was the February Cup final. They did racing the GT4 cars. He was driving the Genetta GT4, but they did 15 laps around Laguna Seca. So some valuable knowledge about the circuit would have come from there and being carried over into this race. obviously doing pretty well in the Bentley. I think the Bentley may actually be pretty well suited to this car due to the altitude change and the turbo on the Bentley providing constant horsepower levels of power output through the engine. And it looks like F1 Massa is slowly but surely catching up Papan. It's only going to be a matter of time, I think, before Massa slips himself up into second.
Alright, so I've sorted out these standings overlays, so you can all keep an eye on the stream where everyone is. Unfortunately, I can't see that in-game, so I'll have to look on the stream and see the timing is delayed if I want to see how far people is behind each other. Tipple trying to currently work his way back through the field. He's very close behind the rough there of a Mikhail 7M, down in 15th, and it's a big gap ahead of them, and Tipple actually pits! After just a few laps, Tipple into the pit lane there. That is very interesting.
Yes. Possible damage, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really see any other reason why he would go in that early. He must have maybe felt something, although he looked to be faster than Mikhail when he was pressuring there in the battles. I don't know. Maybe just wants to get himself out of the pack, but surely he'd lose a lot of time in the pit lane, of course. We got a... was that damage at the front of Pedro's car? Potentially, I don't know if that... Yeah, it does look like a bit of damage on the front cover of that Cadillac of Pedro down in 11th place.
I'm currently trying to look. I can't see any for me.
Right. Last week we obviously had a few lag issues where I saw some cars with damage, whereas they didn't have damage for you. So I don't know. Maybe that's something. Andrex, his teammate though, he's got damage on his roof somehow. So I'm not really sure how that works. But
it looks like I believe that could be Mikhail trying to get past Pedro. I believe he's managed to get the move pretty much done. No, sorry, it's
Nesterovic. Yep.
Yeah, nice move down the inside into the corkscrew there. Pedro did give him a bit of a squeeze, but left just about enough room for Nesterovic to get through, and Nesterovic pulled that one off very, very nicely indeed, without contact between the two drivers, and has promoted himself up into 11th.
Not bad. Why? That's his Jellyfish, the teammate of Massa and TonyR, who missed last week's race, but is back now. Try to have a look on Andrex into the first corner there. Andrex just about covering him off and forcing Jellyfish to go on the outside there into the corner, and yeah, essentially taking that opportunity out of his hands. But he's still very close behind. Andrex is running well, considering the Cadillac drivers have been struggling quite a bit so far this season. But currently, Andrex up into the top 10. But he's still got Jellyfish all over the back of him, not any way through here though. Andrex with a slightly defensive line up the hill. Now the next corner is a left-hand kink, not really ideal for two wides. Is Jellyfish going to look up the inside? No, he backs out of it and sticks behind. Maybe though. Oh, and Andrex made a mistake on the curb. Maybe he's got a slowdown penalty. Yeah, it definitely looks like it. Definitely looks like he's got a 5-second penalty by the game there for cutting the corner, which is such a frustrating thing to get, and you can see just how much time he's losing. I mean, I'm a big fan of the game punishing corner cuts, but sometimes it can very much feel like you're being penalized excessively when you're in the cockpit. And I think actually, who was that? That was Blue Rat as well, receiving a penalty for the corner cut there at the corkscrew, and it's been shoved wide by Centro there as well. So Blue Rat dropping way down the field now. That is very unfortunate.
Yep, Centro's letting him back through though, which is the correct and gentlemanly thing to do. If you do make contact with another driver and force him off wide and gaining an advantage or a position, you should back out of it and let them
move at the front actually.
Or, or basically try and negate that advantage. Yeah, a little bit of a shame to see Andrex there losing the rear end through that left-handed kink. We've also got Maisie. He's dropped down into 17th position in the Ginetta. I believe he qualified up in 10th.
Wow.
So he's had a
lot of scrambling on the first 2 laps.
Yeah, pretty poor start to the race. A lot of drivers swapping positions. And
we have had change for the Massa's past Papan off camera at some point.
Exactly what I was just about to jump on. Is Massa's got himself up into 2nd place. We've also got
it's a backmarker,
driver. Yeah, with quite
one of the Mercedes
to the front of the car. Who is that? That would be Silver Arrow. He's had contact somewhere along the line with something, I presume a wall. He's now going to pull over to the left-hand side of the circuit and basically let all these guys through, staying well out of the way. As we've got quite a nice battle here developing for 3rd position.
Yeah, Papan obviously now running third after being passed by F1 Masa, but he's got Ginger, Mini Black, and TonyR, and even now Bronsky is way too far back. Obviously, that was the lapped car of Silver Arrow just chilling behind them there. So it's a battle, yeah, it's four-way scrap from third if you consider that Masa is likely to pull away. Given his usual pace, but we are in a pretty similar situation, I guess, to the season opener now in terms of the top two. Where
possible swap of positions for the two Bentleys. I'm not too sure. No, Dinder's still holding it. It looked like Mini Black there.
Not the best exit though.
Pulling up alongside Dinder, but it's tucked back in. I'm not too sure whether they are looking to trade positions. Perhaps Mini Black's got a little bit more pace than Dinder at the moment. See if they can catch Papan in front, or whether just Dinder had a slightly poor exit and Mini Black was having a little bit of a faint look.
Yep. Great day for the Bentleys then, actually, because yeah, they'll be struggling in the last two races, most of the Bentleys anyway. But at the moment, it's looking good for them. I'm just going to quickly check where their team is in the Teams Championship. They're in fourth at the moment, which is quite low, I guess, considering the caliber of drivers that they have. Kaki, Ginger, and Mini Black, all very, very fast drivers on their day. But down in fourth in the Team Championship at the moment, on course to have all their cars in the top 5, which is obviously very, very impressive. Two Aston Martins in the top 6, though. So the Team Championship leaders currently also looking not too bad.
I believe Brownski's had made a mistake somewhere and lost a few positions. I did pick him up and he was on the gravel rejoining the circuit. So yeah, definitely not a good race for these three Z4s at the moment. The Porsche there, or shall I say the roof, sorry, it was Nosterovic getting very, very close to the back of Brownski, and we look like we have Nozdra having a little bit of a look almost down the inside of the Cadillac there.
Of Pedro, yeah.
Contact, yeah, of Pedro. They come into the final turn now.
It's a massive trainer, actually. It's quite interesting, okay, to see how these groups are forming. You got obviously Kaki with about, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 seconds gap out in front to Master's second place, and then obviously there's the third place scrap with Papan Jinja, Mini Black and TonyR, and then there's the huge gap behind them. Around 10 seconds maybe, the Jellyfish is currently leading this train in 7th place. That goes all the way down to 12th at the moment, I think. So, yeah, and then there's another big gap behind them. So it's just broken up into groups there very, very early on.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I'll also point out at the moment that Papan is still holding pace with F1 Massa. Their last lap times, actually F1 Massa was 7 tenths of a second quicker than Papan, but they didn't seem too far apart last time. I had a look at their little battle, which means that Massa makes a mistake, Papan is pretty much there, and obviously, like you were pointing out, Papan does have the two Bentleys behind him, and also TonyR facing him down as well.
TonyR's dropped off a bit, hasn't he? I feel like TonyR has got a pretty big gap ahead of him.
A little bit, yes.
A couple of seconds at least. Oh, Mini Black spins it! That was a slow spin, and that's going to cost Mini Black some time. Hopefully for him, doesn't drop him quite into the group behind. He seems to have gotten away with it in clean air in 6th place, but that's unfortunate. He was obviously pressuring his team at Jinja quite a bit in the last few laps, but yeah, that's going to send him quite far back. That was a pretty similar spin. I feel like we had a few of those last week as well, where you go into a slow corner and you just lose grip midway through it, and you just look so clumsy when you look at it from the TV camera. But obviously, it can be very hard to save those kinds of spins when you're in the cockpit.
Yeah, I believe it was Nosterovic last time.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Bugatti circuit who had the
when
slow
it was battling
spin.
with Bransky.
Yeah, like you say, they are pretty difficult to catch because you don't really feel the car going until it's too late. Then obviously if you overcorrect, you just end up flicking the car in the opposite direction. Mini Black just kind of put the pedal to the metal really and just kind of did a full 360 to come back out behind TonyR. So he's only lost one position, but yeah, that'll be a little bit unfortunate for him. Hopefully he won't have another one of those. Then the S is dropping off the back of Papan a little bit. Papan's still quite nicely holding on to the back of F1 Massa. The gap isn't really spreading as big or as quickly, sorry, as initially anticipated. TonyR is still there, kind of hanging around there or thereabouts. Is losing time a little bit to Haphand. He lost how much?
Ooh.
Over a second. Who are you looking at?
I'm looking down at Ycoms, who had a Z4. That was Brownski, just kind of trying to sneak his nose up there, actually on the outside there through turn 1, but couldn't quite make a stick. Yeah, still very, very close fighting here in the kind of midfield group at the moment. 7th down to 12th.
Blue Rat has actually made a mistake on the previous lap as well, and Slot dropped down into 18th position.
Ooh, side by side with Centro. Yeah.
Yep, just going to those now, swapping positions. Got themselves ahead of Blue Rat. Actually, looks like Vice Guy is having a little bit of a look down the inside of Centro, but Centro had managed to get his car ahead before the turn and was able to take 16th position. And I believe Centro will now probably try and pull away from Vice Guy, although I imagine Vice Guy is probably going to try and keep his car very firmly placed in the mirrors of Centro in front of him, and Fizzy saying ooh somewhere.
I'm saying ooh, which usually means there's something's happened. Unfortunately this time they're off camera. Ycoms has dropped 2 positions since we last looked at that huge midfield battle. He was 8th before, he's dropped down to 10th, so he's been passed by Brownski and Nesterovic at that stage in well, presumably on the previous lap.
Yep, and also Nozdra went a little bit deep there into the final turn and ran out wide. This now actually presented a rather nice opportunity, Jesus Christ,
oh, that was
for
close.
Pedro to get
Ycoms wide!
Ycoms has made, wide, almost made contact there with Nozdra as he's rejoining the circuit. Not too sure what's going to happen here. Ycoms is currently holding the inside line. I believe he's probably going to let his teammate go and try and slot himself down into 11th place, and basically just try and hold off Pedro behind him to try and give Nozdra a little bit of breathing room. So yeah, Ycoms possibly going a little bit deep into turns 1 and 2, certainly way out wide and rejoining off the gravel back onto the circuit. I know the SLS isn't great on its brakes, it's its weakest point, and it really does take quite a while for the brakes to actually slow down this rather large car as Ycoms gets very, very close to the back of Nozdra there in the braking zone for the corkscrew corner. However, didn't make contact, and the guys get through that relatively cleanly and within the confines of the track rather quite nicely as well.
Yes, so always cool to see a bit of teammate battling going on. Nozdra winning on this one. I think Ycom's been having a rough couple of laps now. Dropped 3 positions in a pretty quick succession there.
Macau, he's dropped way down into 20th position. He's got quite a bit of heavy damage to the front of his car, unfortunately, which is obviously slowing him down. I believe he may have had it a lap or 2 ago. He seems to be quite far off the pace against Tipple, who's doing 22.6s in front of him, whereas Macau's doing 24.3s.
I'm saying ooh again. There's an overtake. Brownski passed the Jellyfish because Jellyfish run wide. I don't want to be able to turn 4 there. So Brownski up to 7th. Jellyfish now in a Z4 roof sandwich with a Nesterovic also just behind.
Yeah, and I think Nesterovic may have a pretty decent run here at Jellyfish coming up the hill. I doubt he's going to be able to get alongside. He's going forward down the midsole, down the inside there, making contact with the rear of Jellyfish's car. He's going to slide back in behind though. Didn't really seem to affect the drivers too much, so that may have possibly been a little bit of lag there. But yeah, Nesterovic making that lunge, and once again trying to lunge down the inside and making a little bit of contact there with Jellyfish. I don't believe, there he goes for the lunge down the inside into the final turn. My gosh, that's very, very aggressive driving there by Nesterovic, and even yet he hasn't managed to pull it off. Jellyfish is still holding onto 8th position around the outside there. He had to kind of double take of turning into the corner. This is going to cost him quite badly in trying to stay close to the rear of Brownski and the Z4 in front of him, with the mirrors full of the roof of Nesterovic behind. Also swapping and changing between the mirrors as well. He's ducking and diving on either side of Jellyfish's car. He's gone and lost a fair bit of momentum though, coming out of the last corner. Has actually dropped off the back of Jellyfish, perhaps rethinking some of the pretty aggressive moves, trying to get down the inside. He's obviously very, very eager to try and get past Jellyfish and trying to keep pace with Brownski, who's got some clear air in front of him, and I imagine will pull away. It did look like Brownski was a little bit wide there, going through the very fast left-handed kink, but he managed to slow the car down enough and keep it within the confines of the circuit, as it looks like one of the SLSs there, I believe, that would have been Nostra. Yep, running a little bit wide there, coming out the exit of the corkscrew chicane, but he's managed to keep it on track, and he's still ahead of his teammate Ycoms. Oh!
Oh! Who is that? Nesterovic is off! Nesterovic is off on the gravel just as I was looking down on my laptop to check the chat, and he spins off there down to 13th. That was Andrex as well, gaining position going through. Andrex was running in the top 10 before, but now down in 12th position. But yeah, big mistake from Nesterovic again. Last week, of course, he made a pretty similar mistake, just on a slower corner when he was battling for the podium positions with Brownski. Now he's battling a bit further down, but I don't know, maybe the frustration just got him there, because some of the moves that he tried to pull off on Jellyfish was a little bit optimistic. Jellyfish really did well to see him coming, to be honest, especially on that dive bomb down the final corner. When Nesterovic came down the inside so late, Jellyfish had to turn out of the corner just suddenly, but still managed to keep the speed and keep the position. But yeah, it probably comes down to what you said, Nesterovic seeing Brownski getting ahead of Jellyfish and starting to pull away, so he probably felt he needed to find a way through quickly, and he's backfired now because he spun it, pushing too hard, and he's got it all to do again. Obviously now needs to get past a lot of drivers if he's gonna have any chance at getting back to Brownski.
Yeah, these guys seem look like they're running
Bitter as well.
Decent pace at the moment, and comes Nostra into the pit lane on the beginning of lap 20. So this is probably actually the start of the pit window, to be honest. I haven't actually talked about the pit stops at all so far. I imagine most of the guys will be running softs and probably will be making at least one stop in this race. Nostra is currently making his, currently in 14th at the moment. He'll probably lose 15th to Centro. Vice Guy, I imagine, will probably go through as well. Vice Guy's just coming out for the final turn and accelerating up through the gears as he comes up to start the 20th lap. Yep, Nostra down into 16th. Will he lose the place to Maisie, who's coming up to start finish now? It looks like Nostra's pretty much going to hold on to this final points position for the moment. I don't think Maisie is quite close enough, as Nostra having to navigate this rather difficult pit exit. It's pretty tight down there. You do have to slow down the car quite a lot, but yes, pit stop phase kicking in. It'll be interesting to see how this mixes up the field. So Kaki's gone and made his stop, just going to put F1 Massa up into
that's
first.
Interesting. It's very interesting. Kaki pitting before quite a few of the other guys in the top 6. Yeah, you never know though. It'd be interesting to see if any of these guys will try to put off a no-stopper, because last week out of nowhere TonyR did it, and he finished second after having been certainly quite a bit lower than second before the pit stops started happening. So you never know. Massa's taking the lead, although with the high temperatures around this track. Do you think, is there any chance of doing no stops with the soft tires? I feel like, in theory, that's going to be difficult.
It will be very, very difficult. The tires will be like basically ice skates on ice, as I hear something hitting the wall somewhere along the line in and around the pit lane, the entrance to the pit lane. F1 Massa still in first. TonyR's now up into second. Kaki in third. Papan's in the pits along with Dinder, and we have an Aston Martin there in the pits as well.
There's some very interesting cameras as I look at people in the pits. Yeah, Kaki's up to third again. So yeah, Papan's gone in, Dinder's gone in. The two Aston Martins though, both of the Aston Martin out in front haven't pitted. Massa and TonyR. Are they planning something fancy?
I don't know if TonyR, he could be going for the no stopper again. I'm almost certain that Massa's going to try and pit at some point. I doubt he'll hold on to the end. TonyR, last week with his no stop, he didn't actually intend to do that. He did intend to pit,
really?
but he kind of got. Yeah, I was talking to him after the race. He said that he originally didn't intend to do the no stop. He was on the soft tyres. he wanted to do another stop for the soft tyres, and basically he got to a certain point in the race where he saw that his tyre wear wasn't too bad, and he was basically trying to make the decision on a number of laps of whether to pit or not pit, because he obviously had really good track position. Apparently a lot of people in the stream were screaming for him to pit, a lot of people were screaming for him to not pit, and essentially he came to a decision basically too late in the race to actually make the pit stop. He would have lost too many positions, so he was essentially forced by accident, by himself, to stay out on on the tyres that he started with, and yeah, he just about managed to hold on to provisionally second place for the end of the race. One more lap and Brownski would have had him, but unfortunately due to TonyR's pit stop, due to the incident earlier on in the race, he got a 10-second penalty and lost the position, dropping down into 4th, and he's now under threat from Kaki behind him in the Bentley. Just about managed to hang on to it down the inside there as Kaki went a little bit deep, but Kaki may have a pretty good run coming up the hill now down towards the corkscrew corner. Pretty sure Kaki's going to come away with the position as Tony actually goes and fights back, tries to go around the outside. He's going to have the inside for the second part. Both of them giving each other racing room. Very, very good stuff here, but it looks like Kaki has pretty much got the move done and dusted on these fresher tyres.
Wow, that was pretty interesting move from TonyR to try and hang it round the outside. The corkscrew would have been super impressive if he pulled it off, but Kaki just with that extra fresh tyre grip holding on there and taking second place. Yeah, very much on the topic of TonyR trying to hold on to second. That's what he did with the no-stopper last week, but doesn't look like he will be doing that at the moment unless his teammate Master pits in front of him, and he doesn't. But yeah, it's weird. Neither of the Aston Martins pitting so far. So let's see. So Kaki, according to the stream right now, on a 20-second delay, has about 11, 12, 13-ish gap to the race leader Massa, which would be interesting to if Massa ends up actually not pitting. So whether Kaki can catch that. Based on the pace in the race so far, you'd think so, but we don't really know what tires Massa is running on. Maybe, I don't know, is it completely wrong to suggest that he might be on the mediums?
Not necessarily. I mean, he wasn't pulling away from Papan too quickly. Papan does have very, very good pace, and he can hold on to F1 Massa when he is switched on. But yeah, I'm not too sure what F1 Massa is doing at the moment, apart from trying to work his way through.
Yeah, he's made his way through the massive midfield battle.
Yeah, trying to hinder his progress. Kaki's got a little bit of relative clean air, so I imagine Kaki will be lapping quicker than Massa at the moment, which will bring the gap down smaller and will make the fight for first position quite interesting, especially if Massa doesn't pit.
Exactly.
TonyR still in third. Papan's currently holding 4th position. Got quite a lot of clear air in front of him and also behind. Brownski is currently holding 5th with Dinder S just a few car lengths behind. So this is probably going to be the next battle that we are going to see.
Wait, Brownski's 5th. So that means someone's dropped down.
Brownski hasn't pitted.
He hasn't pitted. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So Brownski, another one on the no-stop strategy, which he pulled off, of course, very well in the season opener back at Brno. I believe, yeah, he definitely did not zero-stop last week, because he was the man catching TonyR in that battle for second at the end with the fresher tyres. But yeah, interesting. He's going to have Ginger all over him now, who has pitted. That's going to be hard for him to hold on, but you never know with Brownski. Yeah, it's a solid drawer, as it's shown since season 1 when they won the championship. So let's see, Mini Black is 7th, and he's about 3 seconds behind that battle. Pedro in 8th. Do let me know if something happens with Brownski, by the way, in that battle, while I just look a bit further down the field. Pedro in 8th. I wonder if he's no-stopping as well, actually. Because I feel like he's also much higher than where he was before, because he was at the back of that midfield scrap, and he's way ahead of it, yeah. So I think Pedro also hasn't stopped yet, which is also good to note. Martin van der Bent in a similar situation. I think pretty much, if it feels like half of the field has stopped and half of the field hasn't right now. Martin van der Bent was 15th before, he's now 9th, so clearly hasn't stopped. Then you got...
Dinder is actually having a look down the inside of Brownski as he come up towards a turn.
Oh! My word!
Close. Both of them just about managing to avoid the M3, and it looks like Dinder's got the inside line coming through turns 1 and 2. Will Brownski try and hold it around the outside? No, he does tuck in underneath. That could potentially give him a pretty good run to come back at. Dinder coming down the inside there as Dinder shuts the door. Tiny little contact between the two drivers.
Oh!
More contact as they come out for the exit of the corner. I believe Dinder would have lost the rear end there, but he's gone and let Brownski back through. Not really too sure what's going on here. The back marker trying to get involved as the guys go side by side, coming up into this left-hander, and Dinder goes and takes the position back from Brownski. A little bit of door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel rubbing action there, and I'm not entirely sure what would have gone on. I believe Dinder may have lost the rear end a little bit coming on to the power out of the exit of the corner. Just kind of moved across onto Brownski's line, which kind of stuck them together. The M3 having a very, very nice view of the action there happening in front of him, and some pretty intense side-by-side action there.
Yeah, it almost looked like Dinder. He lost the back end, as you said, and was about to spin to the right, and then Brownski's car kind of saved him from spinning.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think Brownski will be a bit annoyed by that, but yeah, hopefully it was just a case of Dinder actually losing it, an honest mistake, rather than actually trying to not force Brownski off the track, because that would have been bad, but yeah, I would assume that's not the case. What are you oohing about now?
Dinder there going into turn 1, the rear end. Stepped out a tiny little bit again, saw some puff of tyre smoke come out the rear of his car, but he managed to hold on to that quite nicely. I did actually see in and amongst that battle as well, Dinder did flash his lights at Brownski, so I imagine Dinder felt like he had the right to get back in front of Brownski. I'm not too sure. It's quite difficult to call in that kind of situation.
It is indeed. So I'm just looking through the field, and everywhere I look, it's kind of mixed up between cars that are lapped and cars that are on the lead lap. So it's a little bit hard to kind of keep control of everything. It looks like though we have Ycoms has really lost out. We mentioned it before. He was in that midfield scrap, was really struggling. Had a few laps where he kept dropping positions left and right, and now he's down in 16th, only battling for the final points position. Now he's got the Z4 of Tipple just ahead of him. Tipple currently 2nd place in this championship, has had a very solid, consistent season so far, with 2 third places and a 6th. Whereas obviously now he had contact with his teammate Brownski on the first lap and has had a very unfortunate race by his standards anyway. Down in 15th at the moment. Remains to be seen if Ycoms can put any sort of pressure on him. Centro also not too far behind them, I don't think. Yeah, a couple of seconds maybe behind in 17th. Y-Sky, Blue Rat, Mikhail. Silver Arrow currently driving in the gravel trap back in a 21st position. So he's seemingly parking it, or just waiting for a ton of cars to go through. It's a bit hard to see. There we go, back on the track for him. It's got an interestingly shaped car as well, I have to say.
Jellyfish taking a move down the inside of Nostro, almost making it work, coming down into turn 1. Sorry to butt in there.
That's all good.
Busy. I was just having a look through the field, and I could see that the SLS and Aston Martin were fairly close as I was following F1 Massa for a little bit. F1 Massa still hasn't pitted. Neither has TonyR. They're still out, and we've got 13 laps to go. I'm starting to think that these guys are going to try and go to the end of the race. Papand is currently coming into turn 3 now, whereas Tony is coming up towards the braking zone for turn 5. So it's probably a good 12, 14 seconds there. A second a lap. Let's see what times they're doing. Papand is currently about a second and a half quicker than TonyR on the last lap.
It's definitely got time then to catch him, I think.
Yes, but again,
13 laps remaining.
Passing is a different matter to
it is
catching,
very true,
especially on this circuit as well. It's quite difficult to pass on unless another driver makes a mistake. Mini Black has very rapidly caught up to the back of Brownski, and Brownski has actually just pulled over and I believe is letting Mini Black go through. Yes, he is. coming out of the exit of the final turn there. I believe Brownski may have had a pretty difficult lap on the previous lap. I'm not too sure what Brownski's strategy is for this race. I didn't get any information from that prior to the actual race, but I imagine he could be struggling with tyres. I'm pretty sure that Brownski hasn't pitted yet.
Yeah, he has not.
Brownski has pretty much slipped back to where he was prior to the pit stop phase. Yep.
With 11 laps to go, so I think Kaki's currently doing enough to catch Masa here by the end of the race. So we could have a battle for the lead coming up in not too many laps if this keeps happening.
Having a very quick look at the lap times, Masa's previous lap was not good. It was a 1:22.4 compared to Kaki's 1:20.5. That's almost 2 whole seconds quicker on the previous lap. I don't know whether... I imagine Massa was dealing with a little bit of traffic, probably had a slight mistake somewhere along the line as well. But yeah, Kaki's making, I was going to say relatively short work with the traffic, but his previous lap was actually a 1:21.9 to Massa's 22.3, so about half a second a lap difference at the moment. Kaki is catching Massa, that's for sure. TonyR is still holding third position quite nicely as Z4 gets well out of the way there. I believe that's Tipple, judging by the small amount of damage to the rear of his car. Yeah, TonyR holding on to that quite nicely. Papand isn't too far behind TonyR. I don't know if you can see the gap on your Delta, Fizzy?
Papand says 3.4 right now, then it goes to 4. So yeah, it's about 3-4 seconds maybe.
Yeah, I imagine it's round about that. It looks about 4-5 seconds. I believe the Delta thing that you have there was provided by TonyR, right?
Yeah, it was indeed, as we actually got to move for 10th position right now. Martin van der Bent really struggling with his one tyre. It's under pressure from Jellyfish at the moment, but Jellyfish run wide through the fast left-hander down the hill. They're going to be side by side into the final corner here with 10 laps of the race remaining. These guys obviously been a lap down, I believe. There we go, Jellyfish on the outside. Beautiful move if he pull this off. He's obviously, I believe he's had his pit stop. So we'll have better tyres, but a very impressive move nonetheless. Bit of lag there actually. Ooh, so is that Andre's trying to get involved as well from 12th position, trying to take advantage of Martin van der Bent being under pressure there, but can't find a way through just yet. A three-way scrap going there for 10th position in the race. Always nice to see some close battling again. Feels like there was had been a little while since the last close battle we had. Mostly time battles up at the front right now, while both Papand and Kaki try to close the gap to the Aston Martin ahead of them.
Jellyfish running a little bit deep into that left-hander there. I thought Jellyfish was starting to pull away a little bit from Martin van der Bent. Van der Bent seemed to be struggling a tiny bit as he goes a little bit deep and a little bit wide there. That could possibly provide Andrex with a pretty good run coming up the inside into the corkscrew. Will these guys be able to get through here relatively cleanly? It looks like they are. Martin van der Bent yielding the position to Andrex. So they change positions. Martin van der Bent in 12th with Andrex in 11th.
Indeed. So good move there from Andrex. Actually, yeah, he made his way past. So looking back down the field, up the field again, I mean. Nostra quite lonely in 9th right now. Pedro still holding on to 8th with a solid gap behind him still, having not pitted yet. Brownski the same in 7th. It's looking like a reasonable decision at the moment for Brownski anyway to not have pitted, because there's no one really behind him in intimate catching up distance. But obviously he hasn't really gained any positions either, because the gap ahead of him before was just way too big to really make it work. In terms of gaining positions, Mini Black in 6th right now, also pretty half lonely. He's got Jinja a few seconds ahead of him on the track right now. And then, of course, the two battles. First of all, the battle for the podium.
Oh, battle for first! Battle for first! Someone just said it in the stream. And it's actually Kaki was having a look down the inside of F1 Master into the corkscrew. Very good shout out to
here we go.
Mini Marina with that. Looked like Massa just about managed to hold on to first position going through the corkscrew, but ran a little bit deep. Kaki is right underneath the rear wing of F1 Massa and may have a pretty good look down the inside into turn 1. F1 Massa getting very, very defensive and shutting the door pretty much to wherever Kaki may go. I believe Kaki will have a pretty good slipstream coming up down towards turn 1. I believe F1 Massa is probably going to hang to the left and try and keep that door closed to force Kaki to go out wide, which Kaki's going to try and do. It's going very, very squirrely on the brakes. It's actually going to run a little bit deep there off the outside of the corners, rejoin the circuit without losing too much time. Just a car length or two. It'll actually have a pretty good run coming out of that, and is now right underneath the rear wing of F1 Massa once again as they come through turn 3 into turn 4 underneath that Cooper Tyres bridge. Now onto this fairly short straight that should provide another opportunity for Kaki to try and make a move down the inside. He's going for it. Will he be able to pull it off past F1 Massa? F1 Massa giving contact between the two drivers, and F1 Massa is being shunted off wide by Kaki. Kaki has slowed down and is letting F1 Massa rejoin back in front of him. However, to resume this battle, these guys are going to go hammer and tongs for this position. Kaki on the fresher set of tyres with F1 Massa on the old set for the moment, coming into the corkscrew where they almost made contact on the previous lap, following each other through quite nicely for the moment. F1 Massa taking a relatively tight line there, coming through the very, very long left-hander, whereas Kaki tried to open up the entrance a little bit more, which should give him a bit of a better run coming out through the exit. F1 Massa, oh no! Lost the rear end of the car on the curb out the exit of the penultimate corner there, so spun off to the right-hand side of the circuit. That's, oh dear, my God, rejoining onto the circuit. He's gone straight across into one of the back markers there, has made very, very heavy contact. He's gone actually parked on the inside wall there, on the inside of the final turn. This is, I believe, TonyR slipping up into third position now. Papan's just gone and followed him through. What is Kaki doing? He's sat there on the inside. He's got very, very heavy damage to his Bentley, and I'm not too sure. He's trying to get the car restarted and going. I believe he's probably just got too much damage there to the front of his car, and possible technical problems. Fizzy, I don't know. He seems to really be struggling. The car's really quite heavily pulling
hard
over
to say that.
left.
Kaki, whatever just happened there, he's completely thrown this whole race away. He was looking so good on the fresher tires, challenging for the lead, was just being too impatient, I think. Obviously had a move the inside previously in the lap when he shoved Massa off the track, waited for him, of course, which is what he should have done, but then lost it on the curb there and rejoined right in the path of one of the Cadillacs. So we have to try and figure out whether that was Pedro or Andrex getting caught up there. Certainly that hit with a Cadillac caused massive damage to the side of Kaki's car, as you can see there, and he was sitting. I have no idea why he was sitting so long on the inside of the final corner there, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know if he's having some technical issues maybe with his equipment or something like that. You never know whether there was any lag involved from his screen or anything like that, but yeah, it just looked like he lost it on the curb and then just lost his head completely, and yeah, completely throw this race away, gifted it to F1 Massa, who now is on course to extend that championship lead even further. I mean, Kaki is still holding on to 5th, so he's still on course for his second best position of the season, but given the damage visibly anyway to that car, yeah, and he's lost it exactly what it did. Don't you rejoin this time? Yeah, this time he's just stopped it in the middle to let the two other guys go through, so he's dropped down to 7th. Kaki is just, I don't know, twice on that same curb. Yoki, I mean, what is going on?
I'm not too sure. He must have been pushing really, really hard, and I guess cooked the rear tyres. That curb is quite lethal as well. If you do catch it wrong, dip a wheel over onto the opposite side, onto the gravel, and then try and come back across, can bounce the rear of the car. The Bentley is pretty tail happy as well, especially if you're running lower wing on the rear of the car. And yeah, I think that second spin was probably out of frustration, but also caused by damage and also probably overheating tyres. Whilst all this has gone on, Papan has actually slipped himself up into second and swapped with TonyR. Can also confirm that it was Andrex that he's made contact with. Andrex got quite heavy damage to
the master of bad luck.
Onto the front of his Cadillac. Things seriously don't seem to be going his way. Dinder is currently up in 4th position with Brownski in 5th. And Mini Black isn't too far behind, probably just under a couple of seconds at the moment. Has been closing that gap to Brownski. But yeah, Kaki really, really having a race to forget.
Absolutely, and it's going to be so frustrating for him when he looks back at it and just, you know, recalls how good a position he had. Obviously, he was looking so good on pace in the early stage of the race. Obviously, we now know in hindsight that might have been partly because Massa would have been maybe saving his tires, trying to take it easy, because he knew he was going to not do a pit stop, whereas Kaki did, of course. But even then, he was looking so good and caught up Massa. You know, he didn't need to be so impatient trying to get through. It's you know, he's still at this point 4 laps remaining in the race. He had loads of time to just try to find the best place to make the move, try to line it up properly, because surely at some point throughout the final 5-6 laps it would have been a chance opening up for him. But yeah, Massa made it hard for him, of course, as you would expect. He's a championship leader after all, and very much doesn't like well, not losing, but, you know, not winning. Yeah. So, well, certainly Massa's tough defense has cracked Kaki on this occasion, and that's kind of unfortunate for the battle that we were having. It was looking like a very good battle, but Kaki taking it a bit too far, and yeah, unfortunately for us, cutting it short there.
Yeah, I think it's quite easy when you're on the back of a car like that to just focus on the car in front and not really pay too much attention as to how much you're actually pushing and how many laps there are left, and like think about the bigger picture of the race. Essentially, like you're saying, he was pushing quite hard on the back of F1 Massa, knowing that he's probably his main rival for this season as well. I think Kaki's very, very eager to try and take away the crown from F1 Massa for this season. He's certainly got the pace to do it when he hooks everything up, like we saw in Brno. Just absolutely dominated that race. The last 2 races he was struggling a bit, but he was showing very, very good promising signs at the first half of this race, and also the second half after the pit stop, as he was working his way back up towards the back of Massa.
Ooh.
But crack and ooh.
There's another ooh! They're side-by-side battling for 9th position. Nostra and Jellyfish going out in the first sector of the track. Nostra running out on the gravel here, on the penultimate lap, I believe we're on, actually. Actually 3 laps left to go for these guys because they're a lap down, but Jellyfish takes that position. It's still going to be the penultimate race, lap, of course, because when Massa crosses the line, these guys will not be able to go on to the final lap. So who's that ahead of them? That's
Massa.
That would be Massa, okay, yeah. So Massa, obviously, the car ahead of these guys, a lap ahead as well. So Massa has lapped everyone up to 9th position at the moment. Is Nostra going to come back at Jellyfish here? He looked to have got a slide. Oh my word, never mind. Jellyfish getting a better exit out of the corkscrew than Massa even. Yeah, this is quite interesting actually, because Massa obviously hasn't pitted yet, whereas I believe Jellyfish has.
Yes.
So obviously on pace you'd think that Massa is faster, but right now Jellyfish is kind of being hindered by the race leader in the battle to hold on from Nostra.
Massa's
and is he going
to...
Oh yeah, he doesn't really need this. He doesn't really need this, because the gap to Papan is good for him, yeah. So he lets those two, at least, I wonder if he will try to stay out of the Mercedes. No, he doesn't. He just plays it safe there, Massa. And lets Jellyfish and Nostra continue their battle ahead of him, as Massa now obviously onto the final lap of the race. But I guess, yeah, the gap to Papan behind is obviously way too big to be caught. So what we will focus on is the battle there. Nostra getting a very good line through the corner, but then ran into the gravel once again slightly on the exit to hinder his exit speed there. Jellyfish we will be looking to impress his team boss, I guess, behind him in this battle. Holding on to 9th position. Quick look, I think Mini Black might be close to Brownski, if you can keep an eye on that as well, in the battle for 5th position as well. Very close into the corkscrew here, Jellyfish.
They've actually swapped positions. Brownski's dropped back, behind Mini Black. So Mini Black's actually managed to get himself up into 5th. That pass came off screen, but I'm actually going to point out this is actually working in Nostra's favour at the moment. This battle between Jellyfish and himself, with F1 Massa dropping behind them. They've
that is true.
Given them an extra lap for Nostra to try and get past. Both of them running very, very wide though out the exit of the final turn. Obviously pushing hard to try and get the best run possible. It looks like Jellyfish has a slight edge over Nosdra at the moment. It seems to be slowly eking out a car length or two. But F1 Massa will come across the start-finish line to take the win of this race. Papand in second. TonyR is going to come home in a very relieved, I imagine, third position. Very good podium from him, up from 6th place. And this is where all the positions get mixed up. Who's that there that spun on the exit of the penultimate corner? That's Dinder. Dinder spun on the exit of the penultimate corner. He has, however, managed to maintain the position. He was quite a bit ahead of Mini Black, who is now actually in a battle into the final corner with Brownski. Looks like these two guys have made contact somewhere along the line. Mini Black trying to send the one up the inside, has managed to do so up in front of Brownski. Actually, no, sorry, I'm talking utter rubbish. Brownski was the next.
It was his teammate that left down, yeah.
Yes, it was Tiffel. Sorry, getting excited all over.
All the positions getting mixed up when lapped cars cross the line in the midst of the lead lap car, so it's kind of messy on the scoreboard right now.
Jellyfish.
Let's try to find them. There it is.
Now. Yeah, it looks like
Jellyfish still ahead.
Providing he can keep it within the confines of the circuit. Through the next few corners, should come away with, was it 9th position?
It was indeed.
9th, yeah. Pretty close there through the final corner, however. But they are now going to come across the start-finish line. Yeah, Nodge 10th, Jellyfish in 9th place. And who is still going round at the moment? The Ferraris cross.
I think everyone might have finished now, actually, because those were the last two ahead of Massa, weren't they? Nice to see Andrex still finishing in the points in 11th, despite that massive hit with the Kaki rejoining the track there when he spun it. So at least it's not ended Andrex's race, even though obviously it's not helped him either, exactly. So yeah, Kaki finishing in the end in 7th position after his nightmares there in the final part of the race. So disappointment for him. Brownski, one of the guys taking advantage of that, of course, up to 6th, but he did drop a position to Mini Black in the latter stages as well. So Mini Black making his way back to 5th place. Definitely by far the best race for him this season, and then Zinza is in 4th. I'm going to quickly check, is that his best result of the season as well? It is indeed. But Zinza with a solid race. TonyR with his 2nd podium in the first 4 races in 3rd. Papand in 2nd there with his 1st of the season. He did originally finish on the podium, of course, in Imola in the wet conditions, but was taken away with a penalty. So officially now, Papand on the podium for the first time. And Massa, of course, the man winning the race. So, well, it was pretty interesting. Some good battling going on here and there. Interesting battle for the lead. And interesting to watch the, I don't know, downfall of Kaki, in terms of this race anyway.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Hopefully he can bounce back from this, not let it affect him too much for the next race. He does show really, really good pace.
Yeah, well, he had great pace.
He seems to have the edge in terms of pace over Kaki, over Massa at the moment. However, it's just these last 3 races haven't gone his way. He's made mistakes somewhere along the line, so he just needs to keep it cool, keep that level head, and just focus on his drive, and he should come away with the good, consistent results that he should be getting.
Yep, there's obviously one thing, being fast around the lap, and there's another thing, being fast over a whole distance, and also while battling other cars. Kaki was good on 2 of those 3 today, but once he came to the final battle with Massa, unfortunately lost out there. Massa will be extending his lead now in the championship. Of course, we will be back next week at the same time with round 5 of this 4th season of the league. And what's an interesting one! Next week, the drivers will test themselves around the daunting Australian circuit of Bathurst.
Yeah.
For the first time ever in this league, Bathurst is on the calendar, and that's gonna be a challenge.
It's awesome track. I honestly can't wait for that. It'll be a hard one to commentate, though.
Yeah,
I can imagine there might be a few people clipping walls here and there, especially as tyre life and tyre grip reduces.
You say it's going to be hard to commentate. I think it's going to be even harder for those drivers to navigate, 29 laps, I believe, of Bathurst, awesome. Which is going to be around an hour of driving around there. That should be
Awesome.
good. Also pretty early in the morning, 10 a.m. starting time in game. I don't think it'll quite be sunrise, but either way. Luckily for them though, it's no wet weather involved on that one, so it'll be a nice sunny day around Bathurst in Australia next time. At the same time, of course, I will be back in the commentary box once again, as will Yoki, and hopefully we'll have another interesting race coming up for you then. So Yoki, thanks as always for commentating with me.
Not a problem. Thank you very much, Fizzy. And of course, thank you for everyone tuning into the stream and also in the chat. You're very, very useful in pointing out that battle for first position. Otherwise, we probably would have completely missed that.
Yeah, well, yeah, just so much going on up and down the field, of course, as usual. But yeah, we should be keeping an eye on those things, of course. So yeah, good spot. Thank you to everyone who watched this race. We'll be back with Bathurst next time. So until then, we will see you later. Have a nice time. Goodbye.